Hello and welcome to Cybersecurity in Session with your host, Fred Cobb, EVP of Services and CISO at InfoSystems. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Fred Cobb here with InfoSystems. Welcome to our show. We've got an interesting topic today for you, I do believe. With me, Garrett Boyd, Senior Cyber Consultant, also with InfoSystems. Garrett, great to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining in.
Great to be here, Fred. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this topic for a while. It actually could be really a 2 or 3 part series, but at least we'll get into it today, start scratching the surface. It's really the idea of either individuals or companies being really unwitting accomplices to cybersecurity crime. And there are several ways in which this could happen. You know, we've talked about in previous episodes when we were dealing with the SANS CSC20, talking about one of the things when you're pen testing is you look for the presence of maybe a persistent threat that is present in the organization already that might be there, exfiltrating data, doing other nefarious activities that might be there for a while. So just the fact that having someone in the network doing something for a while could be an example of the propagation unknowns to you that your network might be being used for bad things, or your data may be being exfiltrated out over a period of time. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about actually website compromise and some things to watch out for, particularly those that are maybe taking credit cards via e-commerce. We want to definitely touch on that here during our time today. Also talking about, if we get an opportunity at the end, talk a little bit about the cyber version of a money mule, where there are advertisements, job recruiters, even on Zip. You can see these on ZipRecruiter jobs that advertise for make money from home. And it's actually a fairly sophisticated way for cyber criminals to launder money through individuals that would sign up, to do this type of work from home job. So let's begin, I guess, Garrett, talking a little bit about the websites out there that could potentially be compromised, and the website owners, the companies, they may not even be aware that your website is being used for nefarious activity. Can you talk about some examples of that, perhaps?
Yeah, Fred, thanks for that. There's been several cases on the news where websites of really popular companies have been hacked, have been targeted. But if all these big sites have been hacked, you can bet the mom and pop shops that are also are doing the payment card e-commerce site are being hacked too. Yeah, so even large enterprises like Smith & Wesson's, British Airways, Ticketmaster, Claire's, they've all been compromised in one way or the other through their website, through their e-commerce site, through what's called MageCard, basically a hacking group that's able to inject malicious code into your site, that's able to sit at the checkout at the cart, able to do a kind of a man-in-the-middle attack to capture your data, your card data, retrieve that themselves, and then just pass the payment along, so no one's the wiser, basically. So basically, your card payment has been compromised. It's sitting out there with the bad guys, and your payment went through. So that can sit on a website for years, or for no telling how long, until really vulnerability scans are done against that site to find those.
Yeah, I'd heard of a practice here of late where, let's say a cyber criminal, they've got a batch of credit card numbers, could be hundreds, could be thousands, and they want to test the validity of those cards. Could they use them, to buy things, or to get some, cash advances above, just a dollar or two. So they want to test those. So typically what they'll do, they'll find a website. Let's say it's a not-for-profit, maybe it's a charity organization that's got a website up. And what they'll do, they'll take all the credit card numbers that they have, and they'll run them through the website, and maybe donate, maybe a minimum's $1. And what they'll do, they'll test, did that transaction, was that successful? Did it go through? and they can flag the cards as, hey, this is a card that I can take and purchase illegally or get cash transfers illegally, greater dollar amounts on. So they'll use the website basically as a go or no go type of test to see if those cards that they have can be used for criminal activity. So one of the things you can do there, it's very easy to thwart that. More and more websites are doing this. If you have like a CAPTCHA, something that says, hey, I am not a robot, you've seen them when you go to websites where you have to pick, how many pictures in this group have a red light in them or have a crosswalk or something like that. So just that extra level of security can help to eliminate some of that. And think about it. Let's say you are that non-profit organization and you come in the next morning and a few thousand credit cards have been run. So you're having to pay transaction fees. Folks that legitimately own those cards may be calling you up saying, hey, this is a bad charge on my card. I know it's a small amount, but I'd like to be refunded. So it can cause a lot of headache with that type of website, cybercrime.
Sure, those charges could rack up in the thousands and maybe potentially hundreds of thousands, right? I mean, if they're just being tested and tried over and over again.
Exactly. So certainly be aware of that. And what you were talking about a few minutes ago, those are some marquee trademark names that you mentioned that had, and again, as you mentioned, had the man in the middle attacks happening where they were intercepting payment information and using that, again, to create a long list of legitimate cards that they could use illegitimately, sell on the dark web or use through the money mule type arrangement. So that's definitely one way in which you could be an unwitting accomplice to cybercrime. If you don't mind, Garrett, let's talk a little bit about distributed DOS attacks and botnets. And those of you out there listening, you may have heard the term bot or botnet. What does that actually mean, and how is it used in not necessarily committing a crime? Well, it could be committing a crime, but more so just wreaking havoc on someone's network. How does that work?
Sure, Fred, if let's say your systems are compromised, they're vulnerable, they get compromised, and the virus basically spreads through your network, and your computers basically become what's called bots, and then you have a botnet. Your system, your resources are being used against a potential victim to basically deny them of services. So they'll basically use your computing power to shut down another victim system.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And again, that gets back to what we were talking about. Maybe they've got that persistent connection into your environment and they're able to load code, launch attacks, using your own network and a host of other networks in a consolidated effort. Let's say they're targeting, just use an example. Let's say it's politically charged. Let's say one activist group wants to wreak havoc on maybe a political party's website. So they may employ bots and create this bot network and send so much randomized, just chaos type traffic at the legitimate website that it can't respond to all the incoming requests or all the legitimate requests. Therefore, there's service interruptions, service degradation. So when we're talking about distributed denial of service, that's what's happening. There's so much traffic being targeted at that site through the use of these botnet computers that the site becomes unusable, for legitimate business. So it's certainly another attack that be aware of. There are some more sophisticated type firewalls that can, I guess for lack of a better term, they're maybe DDoS aware, so they can help thwart some of those attacks against you. If you happen to have services out there on the web that may be subject to those types of attacks, you can get some firewall technology that could help, eliminate or at least curve or curtail that type of attack against your organization. So again, there's a situation there where let's say it's a consumer, let's say it's not a business, but you keep your PC up or your systems up at home most of the time. What's an indicator that maybe your computer might be being used as part of a bot network? Are there anything?
You're going to see,
Yeah,
I mean, you could see performance issues. It'll slow down quite a bit, because it's actually using that computing power to do something else. Randomized page popping up, just non-normal behavior outside of what it usually does. Running your malware, keeping your malware scans up to date, antivirus scans up to date, keeping your software up to date on your systems is going to decrease the chances that your systems become actual part of that botnet. So.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing we'll touch on here while we're on this topic today. I mentioned this at the outset of the podcast, the term, I guess, cyber money mule or money laundering schemes. What's happening a lot of times, and we've all gotten these emails where want to earn money from home, I got the dollar signs in the header. What they're actually doing, so as they're collecting credit cards, they're able to make purchases, maybe they're collecting money in some nefarious way. The banking industry, the federal agencies are looking at cybercrime activity. They're attempting to get control of the situation, even though it's still out of control. So they're looking at large transfers of money. So and the cyber criminals are aware of this. So what they're doing, as they're collecting this money, what they're doing, they're turning around and they're advertising what appears to be legitimate jobs where someone will work from home and they'll be responsible for buying goods and redistributing them maybe to foreign addresses. So what'll happen is the cyber criminal may put, a relatively innocuous amount of money into that particular person's bank account monthly and give them instructions. Hey, I need you to wire this amount of money. Keep your 20% commission. I need you to wire this amount of money. Keep your 15-20% commission. I need you to buy these items, ship them here, and then what's left over is your pay for that, that type of work. So what's happening is by employing lots and lots of individuals to do that type of work, they're able to distribute these ill-gotten funds and still reap the benefits of their thievery, and it's becoming harder to trace. So for those of you out there that see that, yeah, it looks like spam, but there's also something more nefarious typically behind the scenes, and that involves a money mule activity. So certainly be aware of that as individuals, particularly in this COVID climate. A lot of people may be looking for extra income. They may be out of work, and they like the idea of, hey, I can sit at home in front of my computer. I can do this kind of work and I can make some income. But you have to question, is that too good to be true?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something below board nefarious going on here? And generally that type of advertisement for a job, that's what's happening. So be aware of that. I guess we can close up shop today. Garrett, again, thank you for joining the show today. It's been great having you. Certainly those of you that are out there that are running networks are like, hey, am I actually being, as of now, being an unwitting accomplice to cybercrime? Definitely, as you suggested, Garrett, web application scanning on your websites, looking at your systems for other types of compromise that could lead to you becoming a botnet accomplice without even knowing it. Those are some things to watch out for. So any final thoughts before we close?
Yeah, just for the viewers out there, keep your systems up to date, keep them patched, make sure you can turn on MFA wherever you get the chance to do that. If you're an e-commerce site, possibly you can use another, instead of your own site, you can have a vendor that actually specializes in taking payments to do that for you instead of having that hosted on your merchant site. Make hard credentials, make complex passwords. These things should keep you fairly protected.
No, all good stuff. Again, thank you for sharing that. Folks, it's been great. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Episode of Cybersecurity in Session coming up soon. Thank you.